It's Worth It: How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and Other Books, written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world listening to us via the magic of the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by we the people, your tax dollars, and now controlled by the billionaires. Folks, let me tell you something. We have a special story to cover today, a special story on electric vehicles, and a special story on the white working class. I shouldn't say the white working class. I should say the working class in general, and Farid Zakaria and his comment that should be, in my opinion, looked at with disdain. But before we move forward, let's go to the geniuses in the studios who makes sure that we get things running smoothly across the entire world. Hey, how you doing, my dear brothers?
Oh, pretty good. We had a little clog up in the internet this morning in Tanzania, but we got that fixed. So we're good to go. Wednesday, the 29th of January, it is. And good morning, Egberto. The tin cans and string are holding up. And I'm certainly glad that you were available for a test yesterday so we could make sure that your connection was working fine. And it is.
I
Oh, he
am
So,
said that
so
it's
I am
amazingly
so
clean
happy.
today.
Yeah, I mean, I was concerned because Jack was quiet, and when we were doing our tests so forth, I heard nothing. Normally, I hear that 60 hertz buzz. Nothing.
yeah,
It's clean.
well, we cleaned out the lines. So it took an awful lot of soap and water to get those lines clean, but boy, they're clean now. And it actually sounds a lot better, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just drying those lines out so you don't sound like you're underwater.
Yeah, it
Jack, you
sounds
have a
great.
whole page of wisdom here. We missed wisdom yesterday
Yeah.
and the day before because we had some issues, but the issues seem to be cleared up. We keep our fingers crossed and knock on wood. What you got, man?
All right. Good morning, Nick Berto. How are you?
I am doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. I just wrote a little piece on fascism today. Everybody asks what we can do about fascism. First, understand that fascism happens when government and big business merge into a single entity and align themselves with a corporate agenda, which is profit over people. You have to starve fascism. Who among us is willing to cancel their health insurance to deprive big healthcare of their premiums you pay every month? Who among us is willing to slow their consumption to a trickle to send the message we ain't buying it? Who will boycott brand names at the grocery store? Who will refuse to make major purchases like houses and cars to send the message to the banksters? We're not going to participate in this economy till fascism is rooted out. Who among us will do that? It has to be you. Has
Starting
to be you.
starting with you. Buy great value.
I agree 100%. We've just heard from the prophet, the one and only Jacques Van Beber, and he's absolutely right. We need to, something, we need to come together. That's what the plutocracy, that's what the fascists need. The fascists expects us to be at each other's throats. The fascists expect us to use all kinds of things to distract us so that we don't come together and get what needs to be done. That's going to be my second topic, the Farid Zakaria topic that I have. But I want to start today with EVs. And by the way, folks, the telephone number, as you know, is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. You hit extension 2 to talk. But if you're so kind, you can first hit extension 1 and say, let's reward KPFT for having had Howard do the magic to make sure these shows could come on air efficiently, and say, I'm going to go ahead and support politics done right. Earlier, and before the fun drive so that we can get more talk time in and less pitching time when the time comes around. Anyway, folks, look, uh, this article tickled me because it is stuff that I've been reading for a long time. I remember there's this influencer that I follow on Instagram, and what she does is she's a Cuban who moved to Jamaica, right? And the most amusing thing about this is listening to a Cuban with the Latin accent move to Jamaica and picks up the English patois. It's just amazing. For me, it was amazing listening to the difference in the language and that sort of stuff. But anyway, the thing that got me is she went out there and she's an influencer. She puts solar panels. She has a lot of, she and her husband has a lot of cabins. I think some of them on the Blue Mountain and different areas in Jamaica. And she has these panels, electric panels. So all her homes are powered in these mountains by solar power. It runs the pumps, it runs everything, it runs the internet, which is via satellite, all done on green energy. And then she talked about buying a car. And I'm thinking, my God, her business must be making a ton because you know what EVs cost here in the United States. And you know, if they're selling it in Jamaica, it's probably going to be even more when you talk about the shipping of these EVs to Jamaica, etc. And then she said something about paying $12,000 for her EV. And I said, oh, it must be a second-hand used beat-up EV. And no, it's a brand new lime green EV directly from China. And she gives a tour of the car, and the car looks like a spaceship. You know what I mean? With all the features in the cars. $12,000. And I'm sitting down there, I'm like, dang, why can't we have that here? Well, of course, you know, between Biden, not between, Trump had a tariff on EVs. Biden has a big tariff on EVs to try to get our industry going. Let me digress. We have a tendency to believe that because we say something or we do something, we being 4.5% of the world, that everybody else is, you know, just following our lead, which isn't the case. Brazil gets most of its energy, its fuel for their cars from a green source. They grow cane, they turn the cane into alcohol, and they burn the alcohol. You know, so they have a cycle that then, you know, that cane pulls out carbon out of the air, and after it pulls the carbon out of the air and it's fermented and turned into alcohol, and that alcohol goes into the car and it's burned, it throws the carbon dioxide back into the air. They grow more cane, the cane takes the carbon dioxide out of the air. It's a form of solar power. People say, what is, how can that be solar power? Well, because photosynthesis depends on the sun, and photosynthesis is how the cane turns its pulls the carbon out of the air and turns it into alcohol ultimately with the process, and then throws it back into the car and burns. You get the cycle. It's a cycle that says we burn the alcohol, we take it back out with the cane. We burn the alcohol, we take it out with the cane. China now has become a big battery manufacturer, right? And with their alliances with several countries in Africa, look, I'm not saying that China is some saint at all. China is just another country looking out for whom? China. America is a country looking out for whom? America. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But there's something wrong with how we do things. What Richard Wolff, the economist that I have interviewed, and in the newsletter that I send out, because the interview that I have with Richard Wolff is fairly long, and this is a call-in show, I only play Richard Wolf, etc. when we are not doing call-ins. When Howard tell me, Egberto, today we're going to do a show that's not you live. We need to do a recorded show. Then I'll bring Richard Wolf, etc. But I interviewed Richard Wolf, and he's talking about America being in end state capitalism. We know capitalism is not sustainable. The mathematics of capitalism says it's not sustainable. You won't learn that in business school, business folks. And anybody who wants to discuss that in detail, please feel free to give us a call at 713-526-5738. But we are in end state capitalism, right? Which means we've reached, we finally reached the extractive limits or the exploitative limits that we have on Americans. We're approaching that exploitative limit on American, and it's costing us a lot. China has in. You remember when folks say the reason why we should support these guys making billions and these people making millions, and I always talk about parasites not working or not doing anything. They say the reason we should support that income inequality, that wealth disparity, is because somehow these wealthy people are a cut above and create innovation. That is a lie that we've been told, that you need these excessive profits to have innovation. And I've always dispelled that lie by saying Elon Musk is the one making the money, but his engineers are the ones who are innovative. And what is it that Elon Musk wants the most? Those visas, I can't remember the name of the visa. Howard, can you remember the name of the visa that to bring workers in? My mind just went blank.
That's got a
Anyway,
number.
what is it
There's a
again?
number to it. I don't know what it is, E1 or something like that.
Yeah, right. That whatever that number is, they are going to Elon Musk is going to bring in all these engineers that will work for less, and plus his engineers over here are not millionaires, but they're the ones who create his EV, they're the ones who create his spaceship, they're the ones who create his satellites that communicate across Starlinks. They are the ones who do the work, and none of them are millionaires, right? But they're the ones who actually do the innovation. But he's the one who's worth $400 billion. And the lie we are told is that capitalism dictate that, first of all, that capitalism is the how do they call it, the efficient allocation of resources based on supply and demand. It's a lie. It's a lie. When the prices of oil got too low, what did the oil companies do? They went to Saudi Arabia and they say, hey guys, let's create an imaginary shortage, cut supply by 2 million barrels of oil a day so that the price would go up. That is what they said. That, again, look it up, my dear brothers and sisters, right? So this theory that we have here actually has proven a failure, and it has held us back by having these import taxes on EVs. Biden also was trying to say, you know what? Come on, electric industry. Come on, electric industry. Come catch up. China is cleaning your clock. Catch up. We're giving you these. We're keeping these Chinese cars out of the American market so that you can catch up. And you know what? Did they do that? No. Elon Musk is still selling a piece of crap of a truck that he claimed was indestructible, that when he did the test, the glass broke, for 80 something thousand dollars to $90,000. Relative to what they sell in China at much better quality, they sell that for under $30,000. Now, now, the theory, again, as I mentioned, was that somehow creating these multimillionaires are going to create good stuff. But what they do is they E1B visas. That's what it is. E1B visas. God, it just hit me again. All right. So anyhow, what we've done by allowing these parasites, these billionaires, these multimillionaires to extract the money is instead of investing that into material, instead of investing that into innovation, instead of investing that into all the areas that would bring up our products, we've simply stolen that money, your labor, your excess labor, and passed it on to the few, the corporate heads, the executives, etc. And we're paying the price for it. Now, China has, and you know what? The other thing that we do, when I talk about keeping us uninformed, that is a major, major thing why they get away with it. Because we are uninformed. We don't know about we don't know what Shanghai looks like, what Beijing looks like, what Xi'an looks like. These are, we have a lot of big cities. China has scores, dozens, hundreds of big cities that are high tech, bullet trains, big bridges. I mean, the infrastructure. And by the way, the last time I went to China was in the 90s. And I remember when I got into Hong Kong, got into Xi'an, and it was like, dang, I would have never thought that we don't see this in America. We don't see how these countries are moving forward in America. I have a friend that just got back from South Africa. And by the way, I'm talking BRICS countries now. Check this out: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. A friend just got back from BRICS, and she was, my God, have you ever been to Johannesburg and see what that city is like? And, again, but in our insular way of being, we centralize ourselves around all that our plutocrats tell us. And they don't tell us all the things that are slipping by us as the world goes on. And they suffice it to say, well, everybody wants to come to America. Yeah. The plutocrats and the folks in South America, etc. Yeah, they're coming out here, but they don't tell you what's happening in BRICS. I want to ask you, how many Brazilians do you see flocking to the United States? How many South Africans do you see flocking to the United States? How many Russians, as bad as things are in Russia right now, flocking to the United States? I'm naming BRICS countries now. I'm naming BRICS countries. And Dr. Wolf, in the last interview that we did a couple of last week, actually, he told me something that kind of shocked me. And he said, remember what Biden talked about Russia and war and how the war is going to bring down Russia? He says, Egberto, I want you to remember something. You remember the Depression? I said, yes. He said, remember what got us out of the Depression? Yeah, some of the work programs that Roosevelt did were good stopgap measures, but you know what really did it? And I said, oh my God, I know it, but I didn't really tie it to Russia. He said, exactly. World War II was the catalyst that got us out of the depression because of the massive amount of uh, manufacturing that had to occur. Everybody had a job, etc. And we all know that economics is determined based on the circulation of money. And man, did we have money circulated. And he said, and guess what's happening in Russia right now? And he said, has Russia caved yet? And I'm like, dang, Miss uh, Dr. Richard Wolf, you're actually, I kind of wondered how this war could last that long. And he said, come on. Russia is a continent with not a country that occupies several time zones with a lot of natural resources. Why would they? I mean, they could stay in a state of war forever. They could outlast us in a state of war forever, you know. And if have you been to Moscow lately? And and see the style of living in Moscow lately. And then I kind of sat back and I'm like, my God, we continue to just buy what our mainstream media tells us. We have to stop it. We have to be real Americans, real Americans for Americans, and start looking out for Americans. You know who's looking out for Chinese? The country of China. China, they're doing what's right for their people. South Africa is doing what's right for its people. Brazil is doing what's right for its people. America is doing what's right for its oligarchy. I mean, it is something that is so hard to fathom. It is something that is so hard to fathom. And the reason I started with the EV is because we have Trump that comes in and he's talking about just wiping out green technology, getting free windmills. Texas produces 30 something percent of its energy. This red state that loves to talk about, we are red and this and that. 30 something percent of its energy is wind powered. Think about that. Oil state, the state that produces more oil than any other state. We are top notch in wind power. Wind power saved us during the last freeze. Okay? It was the gas generators that went out, and our governor lied and came up and talked, oh, the windmills froze. No, 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 no. The gas lines that were not weathered froze. Uh, did you know how much solar power we're getting? I mean, there's so much that we don't tell our people, and our mainstream media is derelict in its duty to not let our brothers and sisters in America see what other countries are doing that's putting them way ahead on the trajectory to be way ahead of us. And we continue to keep our people willfully ignorant. Why? So that we get a few billionaires and and all these folks that are protecting these billionaires and multi millionaire, they have the false and gullible and childish belief that the reason they want to protect those guys is that someday they are going to be like those guys. We need to wake up, and we need to wake up quickly, because right now, with the election that is over and the proposals that Donald Trump is putting to fruition, what he's doing is putting us decades behind these countries. And when we talk about the other thing I learned from Richard Wolff, Dr. Richard Wolff, recently, was that BRICS, its GDP, far exceeds the GDP of G7. Put that in our pipes and let's smoke it, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of world around us, and we better start realizing it. And we better realize what our economic structure that enriches a few is doing to all of us and is doing to us as a country. And you know who knows the truth? Those same plutocrats. They know the truth, and they're keeping us uninformed. I'm going to pause on this segment before I go to the working class segment and remind you the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738, extension number 2. Let's go to Betty. Come on in, Betty.
Good morning, Alberto.
Good morning, beautiful. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, you're in rare form this morning. Thank goodness you are. It's not Jesus calling; it's Trump calling. Start little. That's right. But I'll say this: what bothers him the most all is the bluebirds, us, of the world. It is us, and that's what is on his mind, and we got to keep that going that way because that's what bothers him. And I will honor my mother-in-law. She taught me to be a wheeler dealer and what needed to be done about everything. She was and is my mountain. Uh, Trump is not standing at airports, borders, saying aloha. Love y'all. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Betty. Thank you, beautiful. Let's go to Brother Patrick. L- Line number
Yeah,
2.
we'll get there.
All right,
We're
no problem.
little phone coordination.
Okay, Patrick.
Oh, Patrick. Okay, here we go. Come on in,
I
Patrick.
can, I can, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Talk to me, my friend.
Good morning. A bunch of good topics this morning, and everything went smoothly. So thanks to Jack and everybody there. Um, uh, one
Well,
of the things that
let me just say that the brainchild of our technology is Brother Howard Reynolds, and Jack is that great wingman that we all need. Just making the correction. Go ahead, brother.
I appreciate both of them bringing you to me. I we fund our economy with tax revenue. Now, all these countries that you're talking about, that everybody's surprised to see how nice they are. They are nice. All the cities look new. They're shiny. They're clean. The litter's picked up. The roads are in good shape. What China does is they tax their billionaires, and they're one of the only countries that have more billionaires than we do. But it's working. They tax them at 45%. They take half of their income, and rightly they should, because they use the biggest share of the infrastructure, and you want to put back into the place you live. And the Chinese, one of the Chinese automakers that you're talking about is BYD, largest manufacturer of e-cars in the world, and does it much more efficiently than Elon Musk at a much higher quality. It's very easy to reference quality and Tesla, and you'll get such bad feedback it's not even funny. The Tesla Cybertruck can't even be sold in the EU because of how dangerous it is to passengers. I'm not sure if people care that the truck they're driving around is lethal to people that surround it. But Elon didn't care. He just wanted to have that shape, and he wanted to have that truck out. If we don't start taxing these people and we keep giving them these demagogue positions or what have you, I'm not speaking well, but we need to reevaluate what we're doing with these billionaires. They're not helping.
Well,
And
actually, to put it bluntly, they're hurting because the money that they have acquired is money that's not spread out to those who actually innovate. If that money was spread out into universities and colleges, etc., we would actually have more innovators. And you nailed it when you talk about taxing those who, China is also a capitalist country, right? I was talking to Dr. Wolf, and I said, it's hard to believe that people can't understand that capitalism has nothing to do with democracy. That China is a capitalist country as well as America is a capitalist country. The difference is that the control capitalism in China is exactly what you just spoke about, right? We take a bunch of that money back to put it right into production and the things that we need to do. Our guys just take the money and leave. They make the money on our backs and they just take it. Continue, brother.
they make more money producing products that are less safe and don't last as long because we have to replace them more often. That's another thing that a lot of these countries do is that they protect their consumer by having standards. And you might have a 15-year-old laptop in Japan, but it's going to last 15 years. You're not throwing things away. You're not wasting your money, and the cost of living in these places is much lower. And they're the ones that are loaning us money because our system isn't working. Their system is.
Yeah, I mean,
But they're making interest off of loans from us because we don't know how to run an economy.
yeah. Well, let me just say this, right? I think you're being too hard on them. They know how to run an economy. They just prefer to pilfer than to earn an honest dollar. Because I mean, look, Elon Musk worth $400 billion, but he's running around the White House doing nothing, right? Think about it. Which says that the world could live without Elon Musk. We don't need him. We don't need these guys because the other people are the ones doing the work. So what's their purpose? You know. But anyhow, anyway, anything else, Patrick? I need to go to Augie.
No, Canada joined the EU, so another country that just turned its back on us because of the way we're treating them.
Well, you know what? I think we are in for some heady days. But thank you very much, my brother. We'll talk later.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Good morning. Yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you a couple of times, like at inauguration when Melania wore that big old hat. When I saw her come out, you couldn't see her face, and I think, oh, she doesn't want to be seen with Trump. That's why she's got that big hat. But then also, a second thing was he couldn't kiss her. He tried to kiss her, but he couldn't get to her with that hat. And you were talking about the special visas. Well, these companies got rid of their American engineers and scientists because they want these Asian guys and Indian guys at, like you said, at lower wages.
At a
It's not
discount, yeah.
out of these guys. And these EV cars, you can buy them in Mexico, the ones from China. And I was thinking, man, it'd be great to go to Mexico, get one of these cars, and bring them back across over here. But Melania, when she came on one of those special visas, the E1, I think. But she didn't have any special skills or needed skills. Her skill was she was a nude model, and we got plenty of those. But Trump got her in one of those, and then he got her parents in too. And I'm not sure what kind of visas they got, but Melania is the one who runs the home there. And then yesterday, Brian got all upset because you wouldn't call President Trump. Well, Truman, when he left the office, he preferred to be called Mr. Truman, not President. And the senators went to his house and says, "Oh, President Truman, just call me Mr. Truman. I'm an American citizen. I'm proud to be an American. You don't have to call me President." And that's when you were in Congress, you didn't get retirement like you do now. The politicians, they did it to serve the country, not to make themselves wealthy. But they said that's when they started. All of a sudden, they could pick the raises that they would get from year to year, and then Jimmy Carter didn't like to be called President Carter. He's called me Jimmy. So I don't know why Brian got all upset. It doesn't matter. Those are just words, and but something to think about. And people are crazy about toll roads. You know, nobody wants to pay toll. Well, we didn't have to pay toll when Eisenhower built the infrastructure. It was there. FDR made the billionaires pay taxes. When billionaires pay taxes, we have the money to increase and better our infrastructure. But the billionaires don't want to pay taxes, so somebody has to pay for those. And now
let
it's
me
up.
tell you, let me tell you better. Let me tell you better. These toll roads are actually another form of ripping out the commons because guess what happens, my brother? A lot of these toll roads are run by here in Texas are run by foreign companies. So we give them the easement. They build the road and they charge for the road and they have a source of it's a tax not called a tax, right? Because normally I prefer to give my money to the state and let the state build the roads. There's no profit for companies, so that extra money can actually go into maintenance. But now that maintenance and all of that goes into profit. It's the biggest scam that there is. If you notice all these new freeways in Texas, a lot of them, that is, they're toll roads, and a lot of and some of these companies are actually foreign companies that are coming in here and making a dollar off Texans, but Texans don't know it. Anyway, Augie, close her up so I can get to Bard.
Yeah, and another thing is HOAs and MUDs. Uh, People don't realize that they're doing a government function, except that the politicians don't want to be burdened with taxes for
Hmm.
maintaining utilities, and that's how they get away with it. They create these MUDs and HOAs, and they keep increasing every year. But the politicians don't get to blame for that. It's these HOAs and MUD districts that are ripping us
Exactly.
off.
It's called
That's it.
abstraction, man. Abstraction, abstraction. Thank you very much, brother Augie. We'll talk tomorrow. Let's go to brother Bard. Come on in.
Sir. Good morning, sir.
Good
I
morning,
am
sir. Talk to me.
I'm glad to see that you and Patrick are finally concerned about the economy. For the past 4 years, you haven't cared. You told us it was clicking on all 8 cylinders and great and perfect and all this BS and lies that you spew. But as far as BRICS goes, the reason those countries are going to their own form of currency is because the U.S. will not stop printing money, or with no backing. It has no value if you just keep printing and printing and printing, which is the reason we have inflation. But the real purpose of my call, I wanted to ask you about Panama. I was reading a little bit about it. I didn't realize it was so corrupt over there, and I was wondering if you were you yourself, were you radicalized in Panama, or were you radicalized at Texas University?
At the University of Texas. Thank you very much. I know you're an Aggie, so that's why you like to call us Texas University, but no, it's the University of Texas. All right, let me just address everything that you just said real quickly. First of all, we have always Patrick has always been interested in the economy, and so have I. As you know, that is actually my forte. And one of the reasons we gave Biden the kudos is that Biden did some progressive policies that have been needed for quite a long time. I am not a Biden fan because Biden is a neoliberal, but the progressive wing of the Democratic Party had sufficient influence on Biden to create the policies that got us out of the funk that Donald Trump left when he mismanaged COVID that caused the economy to crash. And Biden did a great job in following the neoliberal capitalist principles that I hate into starting the revival of America with a somewhat robust amount of progressive support to the middle class, which dropped poverty for children by more than 50% during his period until the Republicans came back into power, at which point the poverty rate started to slip again. Now, talking about Panama, let me tell you specifically, I was never ever radicalized. The radicals are the ones who are taking your money and watching you squirm. In other words, the radicals in this country are the plutocrats. The radicals in this country are the parasites. The radicals are in this country are the ones who are taking your monies away. I went to the University of Texas. Thank you very much, Mr. Bard, and all the Texans that are in this room that are listening to me right now. I do appreciate the collective. I do appreciate the taxes that all of us have paid in Texas so that we could have that great university called University of Texas, where I was in fact educated. I have more than returned the payment and the amount of taxes that I've paid over the last 30 or 40 years. So you've invested in me, and I've invested right back into the next generation with the amount of taxes that I've paid thus far. But let me tell you something. I didn't need to be radicalized at all, because the radicalized folks are the ones who are trying to destroy the promise of America. And that starts with, my dear brother, by you remain choosing to be willfully uninformed on these particular issues based on many of the statements that you've said thus far. But I tell you what, I am so happy that you are a consistent listener of Politics Done Right, because at some point, the seeds that we plant here is going to start to germinate in that beautiful mind of yours. Anyway, I close her up because I got to go to John.
I will never fall for your lies and fairy tales.
All
I know
right.
that.
Well, sir, actually, what only one thing you need to do is one by one, anytime you want, one by one, tell me my lies. But right now, since I have to go to John, call another day and you tell me which point is a lie that I've made, and we'll go over it one at a time. Have a wonderful day, my dear brother Bard. Let's go to John. John, you're on. John up one, John up two, and it seems like if John is gone, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for volunteer work.
Thank
You
you,
said
sir.
that, yeah, you said that in the early '80s you were denied a loan for a computer program.
No, no, no. Again, if it's all in my book, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Let me give you the different story. There are several stories. In the 1980s, I was denied a loan. I went
What,
to the bank. You
what
asked me a
year?
question, I'm answering it to you. I can't remember the year exactly. It may have been either, let me see, I left NASA in, I think, 89. I think it would have been 89 or 90, one of those years. Go ahead. So yes, I was denied a loan, and a friend of mine with worse credit, and he was actually a coke addict. He got the $40,000. I was sent packing.
Okay. During that time, that was the start of the tech revolution and the tech crash, correct? So money was given.
Uh, Go ahead.
Can I finish, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, money was given out freely. Yeah, money was given out freely to anyone that could do anything with a computer. That's why Mark Cuban made billions of dollars. And then they figured out, hey, wait a minute, these people are not producing anything. They're making no durable goods. Okay. So I don't think it happened the way that you think it did. You
Well,
had a
actually,
man
no. Okay, sir. You know what gets me with you sometime, Brian? You make assumptions that are so wrong. First of all, you're absolutely wrong. What I made had value. In fact, it had so much value that my product is used by NASA, from NASA right back to Boeing, and it has saved hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in technical know-how because of what I was able to do with an RTS signal on an 8250 chip. Okay, so let me just tell you that what you're saying right there is complete bunk. Now that said, the person who got the
you should have
loan,
got the loan.
I am not.
You should have gotten the loan.
I should have definitely gotten the loan based on those who were getting loans in those times. Based on those who were getting loans in those times, my portfolio was stellar. Okay, and I didn't.
Then
And
it wouldn't be based on race. It wouldn't be based on
absolutely,
race.
sir.
Nowhere. I know.
There's no. I mean,
Absolutely
I
wrong.
am not. I am.
Absolutely wrong.
You know what drives me crazy? Let me tell you what drives me crazy. When somebody like you look at somebody like me, who lives in this body, who lives in this skin, who doesn't play the race card, but no understands the reality of this country, and then to have somebody like you come and say, "Oh, that has nothing to do with race." It it is one of the most upsetting things. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people of color out here whose personal economy has suffered simply because of how they look, when folks who look like you, my brother, with no talent or skills, have gotten the benefit. When they talk about DEI, you know why it drives me crazy? Because though many of us who know, we know what we're talking about, and watch somebody who just slides by, because that's where the DEI is. Goodbye, Brian. Let's go to Derek.
Yes, I tell you, Alberto, I know exactly where you're coming from,
What was so ugly about people like that, like Bart, with what Bart said and what Brian unfortunately just did, is that they are acting out of a unwritten law that came from out of slavery, my brother. And that unwritten law is a black man knows nothing. And that's what drives people mind like that. They don't think that you know anything. No, you have a background. You are an author. You are an engineer. But still, somewhere in the back of their minds, you know nothing. It's an
Uh,
ugly reality that exists
Derek,
in America.
I appreciate that statement. Derek, I appreciate that statement because that is an absolute true statement. There are
Yes,
some of
sir.
us who uh, have to constantly say, "Oh no, I know. Really, I really do know. I really do. I really do. I really do." You do. You put the
Right,
work in. You put the effort in. And I'm going to tell you that's not that is all over the place. That is in science. That is in news. That is right here. Damn it, at KPFT. It occur,
right, right.
but we live it. We live it. We understand it, and most of us inside. That's why the name of my book is Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. In other words,
Right.
I get the pain, I feel the pain, but I don't make that have an effect on how I treat my fellow man, whoever they are, white, black, blue, Chinese, Asian, whatever.
Right.
I make sure, and I am not going to duplicate the evils of those who are racist and become that. And that's why I love all my brothers and sisters. And you can anybody who interacts with me can tell you the same thing. I'm going to treat everybody with respect, dignity, and who they are, not what they look like. And that is not just a statement. That is just a
Yes,
lifestyle.
sir.
Not a lifestyle. That is a way of being. Continue, my brother.
You give it to us every day by just calling them my brother. But you
Exactly.
don't see me as a real brother because of that unwritten law that exists inside of you. It is an ugliness, it is a cancer, and you got to get rid of it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, my brother. You have a great day, Derek. Let's go to brother Bruce. Come on in, Bruce. Oh, wait. Before Bruce, Patrick says he has a 10-second comment. Bruce, hold a second. Let me get to Patrick, and then I'm going to come right back to you, Bruce. Oh, God. That's all right. Hey, Bruce, call us back. Call us back. Call us back. Come on in, Patrick.
Sorry if I caused an issue. I just wanted everybody to understand that when they're going after DEI, not only is it racism, but you turn your back on all the veterans that need this. That they get preferential treatment because sometimes they have a more difficult time getting back into society, and you just took that from people that defend our country. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And going above and beyond that is so important that what we notice, these are not unearned. When you are given, people like to call them preferential treatment for some of these things. A lot of these things aren't preferential treatment, they're payback. And that is what a lot of folks can't understand. When you look at the ills that have happened in the past, that goes generationally. How do you fix that? We have a lot of errors in fixing these things, but we have to keep trying and not just throwing our hands up and saying, "Oh well, things are equal." You listen to Brian, and Brian really hit a nerve on me because I lived this stuff. I live this stuff. And I live this stuff everywhere. I live this stuff at NASA, where I had to overperform at NASA. Live this stuff in business, where I had to overperform in business. I never forget. Well, I'll tell you guys that the Chinese story about me being in China another day. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce. Sorry that we had that little mix up, my brother.
Yeah, Alberto, good morning. I just got two quick things. First,
Yes,
I
sir.
know Trump is throwing 100 things at us at one time, figuring that he's going to get stopped on a few of them, and a bunch of them will get through. It's flooding the zone. And as far as race, I'll never tell a Vietnam veteran, no matter how many books I've read or people I've listened to, I'll never say I know what it feels like to have fire coming at me and to be ordered to go to it. I'll
Mm.
never. No, only someone who's done it can do it. I'll never tell a person who's in a minority, yeah, I know what you're going through and what prejudices you faced. I've never walked in those shoes. So the key is to listen to other people. I'll listen to a migrant. I'll listen to a person in the minority. I'll listen to a veteran and give credence to their views. That's all I have. I just
Bruce,
had to
don't
get off.
leave it because first of all, I want to commend you for that statement, right? I also want to tell folks that there's something called empathy, right? While I cannot be a woman, I can actually see what society has done to women. I've watched women have to overperform. I have watched women be looked down on by all men, not white men, by all men. You look at the church, you look at other things. I haven't lived that. I can empathize with that, right? So I want to put a corollary on to what you said. Because you are a person who feels and can feel for somebody, while you cannot say exactly how that one person feel, you can empathize and understand that there is a pain that that person is feeling. And you have got that, Bruce, and a lot of people that I know, irrespective of who they are, how they were brought up, etc., have that empathetic wiring in their brains. And what I hope, I don't, I am, it's above my pay grade. I don't know if if that is implicit to people or not, but I would hope that more of us would learn how to grow or wire ourselves empathetically. I really hope so. But thank you for your comments, Bruce.
Uh, just one more real
Yes.
quick. That is why politicians who dodged the draft or for some reason weren't in that age group are more likely to send men off to war than maybe a veteran would, such as George Bush Sr., who's not my favorite, but
Hmm.
he understood that he's sending people off. So that's all I got. Bye.
Thank you, Bruce. I think you nailed that stuff about it's easy when you don't know what war is really like. It's easy to just go ahead and say we're going to send folks to war, etc. Thank you, brother. All right, I just have a few minutes left, right? And one of the things I wanted to talk about is an article that I read, Farid Zakaria's message after working class voters ditched the Democrats. Good riddance. I consider that one of the most elitist statements out there. In other words, Zakaria, who I likes, very intelligent guy, is telling the Democratic Party, "Hey, just give up on the working class. Don't to hell with the working class. You already have the college educated. You already have most of the minorities. You can actually build a framework because you've been trying to get the working class, and those people aren't coming to you. Those are and let's be frank here. Whenever you hear people talk about the working class, in effect, they're talking about the white working class that the Democratic Party has pretty much lost. And he's telling the Democratic Party, just call it a day. Look, you've been winning popular majorities with minorities, college educated, and maybe a plurality of women. So why not just stick with the program and ditch the working class, which I say that is ridiculous. And Les Leopold, who wrote the article, talks a whole lot about the stuff that we talk about all of the times. The biggest mistake the Democrats have ever done was to cede the working class to Republicans, was to cede people in rural areas to Republicans. And the narrative is that these people are so damn racist. These people are so backwards, sexist, uneducated that somehow you can't really reach them. You give them the facts and they don't accept the facts and all of that. But then when Les Paul brought out some polls, you realize that no, the working class are just as progressives as those of us who are progressive in the things that they're asking for. Why the hell would you abandon the working class? That makes no sense. I've constantly said over and over and over again that what we need to do is every hospital that is closing to go into rural America, earn those votes. Obama proved one thing, and I've told you guys this message before. I knew Obama was going to win when he went into one of the most, what one would consider racist part of Pennsylvania. And when the canvasser asked, "Who are you voting for?" the person said, "We're voting for the N-word guy." His economy was over his racism. He believed that Obama, in as much as he was prejudiced against Obama, that he was going to do well by him economically. You don't give up on anybody. Racism is a tool that the Republicans have learned how to use against Democrats in with the working class. The silliest thing one can do is to give up on any demographic. If Democrats want to win, go to rural areas, go into Appalachia, go everywhere and start investing in people and stop investing or being the stooge of corporations. That is my message of the day. And with that, I transfer to the studio.
Well, Egberto, that is a word of wisdom there. I can say that the Democratic Party has a lot of work to do, but they better get started. See, now, Trump never went away. He was always in front of the cameras. Oh, stolen election this. Oh, stolen election that. Oh, riot this. Oh, riot that. Oh, no, I'm not guilty of anything. He never went away. He campaigned for 4 years during Biden just to get in, and it worked.
Yeah.
It absolutely worked. So the Democratic Party better do the very same thing. They need to get out in front of the cameras. Why are you closing this rural hospital? What about this? What about that? This is what's going on right now under this particular president. They need to point it out. So that's pretty much what I've got to say. There's one other thing, but it's not a real well-formed idea, so I think I'll hold off on it. Jack, what you got?
Let's stop. Forget it.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently
Okay,
his idea wasn't well-formed either.
All right, let's close this baby down. Guys, love you all. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your ears. My name is, don't forget, politicsandright.com/newsletter. The rest of the program is there. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. There are 141